16 by 9, the bigger picture.
Two men from Canada are on the death list in a country with the highest execution rate in the world. And two women here are fighting to keep their husbands alive.
They put a gun on his head and told him that if you are not signing this, we're going to execute you right now.
They are one of the most intelligent primates, and they're disappearing at an alarming rate. How a Canadian woman is fighting to save Borneo's orangutans.
I mean, we know they're all traumatized because their mothers were killed in front of them.
That's all coming up on 16 by 9. Here's Mary Garofalo.
Good evening and welcome to 16 by 9, the bigger picture. Arrested, tortured, and sentenced to death, the country of Iran has the highest execution rate in the world. Two men from Canada are in prison in Iran on that death list. And here, a world away, their wives fight desperately to save the men they love. Here's our Mark McAllister.
Every 12 hours, this is happening in Iran. They die accused of morality offenses, of insulting Islam, of political opposition. In the first 3 months of 2011, Iran executed 170 people, the highest execution rate in the world today. For that and so many reasons, they come here, to Canada, to build new lives. For Hamid Ghassemi Shal, that new life involved a new love, Antonella Mega.
We were both committed. We found what we were looking for in each other.
But 12 years later, the couple would be ripped apart. It started in May of 2008 when Hamid returned home to his native Iran to visit his ailing mother.
The intention was that he would come home a few weeks later.
3 years have passed and Hamid is still not home, and he may never be. Soon after Hamid arrived in Iran, his brother, Alborz, was arrested and accused of supporting the government's opposition.
His brother hadn't done anything to deserve an investigation or certainly arrest.
Only a few days later, Hamid was in trouble too. The military searched his mother's home and snatched his belongings.
Everything like passport and paper and cash and credit card. They took everything that belonged to Hamid.
Hamid went to the Canadian consulate for help.
That's when they told him that they could replace the Canadian passport, but that because he was, Iranian born, he would have to leave under the Iranian passport.
With no help from his home country, Hamid knew he was on his own. He had to get his passport back from Iranian authorities himself.
He was told to attend an office where he could pick up his papers, and that's when he was arrested. We all went into a black hole. I didn't hear from him for 19 months. I didn't know where he was being held. I didn't know if he was alive.
Hamid was alive, but he was in solitary confinement at Evin Prison in Tehran. McGill law professor Payam Akavan is a former UN war crimes prosecutor. He says conditions at Iran's most notorious prison are like hell on earth.
Electrocutions, beatings, rapes. The purpose really is to humiliate, terrorize, and to break down the will of the prisoner.
Inside that hell, Hamid and his brother Alborz were charged with spying and sentenced to death. The evidence that put him there? This single sheet of paper. Iranian authorities claim it's an email that proves Hamid and his brother were conspiring against the government. His wife says the email addresses on the document don't even exist, and Hamid's signature was clearly forged. Questionable evidence, no lawyer, no fair trial. and a death sentence. Another couple, Fatima Eftekhari and Saeed Malikpour, came to Canada to pursue their education, but discovered something even more precious.
Freedom. I love that sense of being free here.
On October 1st, 2008, Saeed went home to Iran to visit his dying father, and the freedom he and Fatima found in Canada was suddenly taken away.
Three days after his arrival in Tehran, he just disappeared.
Fatima got a call that would turn her world upside down.
It was 2 a.m. and my phone rang, and it was Saeed's sister, and she was crying and she was panicked. She said that he is in trouble, but we don't know where, we don't know who. Is he arrested? Is he kidnapped? What's happening? You know, we weren't sure, and that was the start of this whole nightmare.
Saeed was in Evin prison, charged with running an obscene website. Saeed was a computer programmer, his pride and joy, a program to upload photos.
He didn't think that this program is going to end up in adult content website.
But someone in Iran used his program to post pornographic images to the web. 4 months later, Fatima was finally allowed to visit. Saeed was gaunt and frail, a broken man.
He was a totally different person. He lost quite a bit weight. I was hugging him, and because I know his body, and I was just hugging him, and I couldn't, it was like this. Nothing was there.
Against every instinct to remain close to Saeed, Fatima returned to Canada to fight for her husband's freedom.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was the hardest decision of my life.
Back in Iran, according to this letter he managed to get to his wife, Saeed was in a living hell. Quote, armed with cables, batons, and their fists struck and punched me, forcing me to write what the interrogators were dictating. Then, in March 2009, Saeed's face appeared on TV. A confession from a scared and confused-looking Saeed, a confession he told his wife came after months of terrible torture.
He was saying that how they put a gun on his head and told him that if you are not signing this, we're gonna execute you right now.
And so he confessed, and with that, Saeed Malikpour joined Hamid Ghassemi-Shal on death row. On the other side of the world, the desperate fight to save them was just beginning.
Coming up on 16 by 9.
Deep concern is not strong enough to save a human life on death row in Iran.
That's all coming up